Good evening. Welcome to this Monday night special of Last Ball Boxing. Tonight we're joined with regular Ander. Good evening, Ander. It's not a Thursday. I ain't got it all mixed up. It's a Monday.
Evening, mate. How are you, pal?
Oh, good. So we thought we'd take this opportunity to jump on and talk about the weekend's cards that have just gone, and maybe a quick sneaky look towards this weekend, although we'll probably cover it Thursday. So like ever, anyone in sidebar, feel free to post your comments as we go through. This show's for you guys, not for us. We're here to give the fans a voice, so make sure you jump in and make it count. So, Andy, I think we're going to start with the boxer card this weekend, so I'll leave it over to you to start talking about the boxer card.
Yeah, obviously, but the boxer show's a little bit short and sweet, so we didn't get to see a lot of the undercard. I was very impressed with Arlen Eubank for the first few rounds of his fight. I thought he looked very, very sharp. He was.
We're going for the boxer card, not the Channel 5 card.
Oh, sorry, mate. That shows you how knackered I am. Okay, boxer card, right.
Let's start again. Take two.
Caroline Dubois came in, did the business as normal. What's she actually learning from these fights, though, Carl?
Not a lot, is she? You know, there's a bit of a conundrum going on here, though, isn't there? Because I don't think there's the depth. So,
well, I mean, she's got that much, decent amateur experience. Does she really need these gimme fights? Does she really need them? I mean, what's it actually doing other than giving her a little bit of experience under the bright lights? And even then, because she's on so early in the card, the crowd's half empty anyway, so it's not like it's a full arena. Yeah, I'm not sure it's benefiting her, mate. They're on about getting it right really quick, aren't they? They're on about getting her on the Savannah Marshall card.
Yeah, they've got a clear choice, haven't they? You know, they either take up the levels really quick, because the British boxing public, like I say time and time again, are going to get a bit bored. Evening, Sean.
Right, Sean.
Yeah, I'm all right, fella. So, Sean, we just touched on Caroline Dubois. What did you... I mean, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but we didn't learn nothing new, did we? But what was your thoughts?
I mean, she done exactly what was asked, wasn't it? I mean, the opponent wasn't up to much, and I think let's see how she gets on in the next 6 to 12 months.
Do you think she really needs these? Do you think she really needs these gimme fights, though?
No, I think she can be fast-tracked, although she's quite young. I think what we've seen from her already is she's above where she is now, and I think it's probably in with these sort of opponents.
I have to agree, mate.
Like I said, the depth's not there in female boxing at the minute at that weight class. So I think she's going to have to go up through the weights until she finds, for want of another word, some opponents that can give her a bit of trouble.
Yeah, she needs testing for me. There's one thing that worries me slightly about her, though, and that is she loads up on every single shot. Now, whether she's doing this because she knows she's so much better than the quality of the opponent that she's in with, that she don't need to show her boxing skills. But I think if she'd have boxed this girl and then opened her up for the big shots, she'd have had more success. The problem with what she was doing was this girl was just covering up. So these big bombs weren't taking effect. If she'd have broke her up a little bit, showed her some angles and used the jab a bit better, and then threw some of them big bombs, I think she'd have got
I think the trouble is, Andy, we've been spoilt with female boxing, haven't we? With some great 50-50 fights. And then we watch Caroline Dubois and we're like, what's going off here? You know, she's walking through the opponent. So I think boxers have got a real tricky time with Caroline Dubois over the next 12 months, because I've said it once, said it a million times. The British boxing public don't buy this scenario where she's gently being eased into the pro games. Look at Atten's lad. You know, he was given very little time, wasn't he? Conor Ben's got grief in the past, hasn't he, for, you know, for being given gimme fights. I think the days of him being given fight after fight after fight are long gone.
Yeah, I mean, with Atton and with Conor Ben, obviously they got massive names, but you got to remember them two hardly had any amateur experience. They needed them fights. Caroline Dubois, I don't think needs them. I don't think she needs these gimme 4 and 6 rounders.
I think it's tolerated with the Bens and the Attons for a certain amount of time, but then the, you know, people get impatient. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. So obviously, then we move on to Fraser Clark. Now he was in with a fighter that other fighters have struggled to get rid of or struggled to get rid of early, and he absolutely destroys him. It was a peach. To be fair, though, Carl, it was a peach of a shot, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a good shot. But he was looking for a way out, that guy, by then, wasn't he? He didn't want any more of it, in my view. You know, he was looking for the canvas. So Fraser Clark, again, time isn't on his side. I think you've got to adopt the Joe Joyce model with Fraser Clark. And people don't give credit enough to Joe Joyce for how quickly he's gone through the levels in the pro game. Well, I think Fraser Clark's going to have to do a similar job.
How old is he now,
to put his foot down.
He's in his 30s, isn't
he? 30 years old I've got.
Right.
So he's going to have to put his foot down and get moving through them levels, because he can't keep fighting that sort of level, can he?
The problem is he's been very unfortunate, Fraser, in that he's been in the GB squad when there's been two really great heavyweights in AJ and in Joe Joyce, and he's had to play second fiddle to the both of them, and then he's had to get his own turn, and did a fantastic job when he did.
And he's coming off a thumb injury, to be fair, as well, which is a bad injury for a boxer, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he comes across really well, though. I think he's very grounded, because there is quite a bit of spotlight on the likes of him and Caroline Dubois. But I agree with you, mate. He does need fast tracking a little bit. I think he needs a bit more time than Caroline Dubois, though, because he's in a bit of a killer division. You know, you can't mess around at that division. If you pick the wrong fighter, that could be end of his boxing career. If he gets beat early by somebody that's a tricky, tough opponent, and with heavyweights, it's only one punch into it. They got to be a little bit sensitive with him. I know what he's saying about his age, and I agree with his age, but they got to be a little bit more tentative than Caroline Dubois. I think she can be pushed on and be fighting for titles next. I think she's that good.
Yeah, Joe in the sidebar says Dubois is a superstar in the making. It was only her third fight. Lots of time to be critical. Evening, Joe. That guy says if she gets as much activity as Fraser kind of does, depend on what promoters want to do with certain fighters. Yeah, I think there's enough at domestic level for Fraser Clark to be kept active and to learn the pro game, whatever that might mean. So I think there's a lot better opponents out there domestically than that guy who was in the ring on Saturday.
So Joe's commented, the fat mess came in at 22 stone, got what he deserved. Can't really argue with that, can you? Okay, swiftly moving on to the enigma that is Ben Whittaker.
Oh.
So his nickname should be Marmite, shouldn't it? Because you're either going to absolutely love what he's doing or you're going to absolutely hate what he's doing. This is the second coming of the Prince. It's the second coming of Nazim, this, isn't it? I mean, he was very lucky. A couple of times in that first round, he got a little bit too carried away and he was doing a few naughty things in there. You know, if that had been a different point of the fight, you might have seen him having points taken off.
I didn't see Rob McCracken holding his water bottle there, Andy, was there?
No, well, I clearly got that wrong, didn't I? As soon as he switched on, though, Carl, you saw the talent, didn't you?
Yeah, look, I think he's going to be a world champion. There's no two ways about it. But it's a personal view. I don't mind a bit of showboating when you've done something to deserve to showboat about. But, you know, it bordered being disrespectful on Saturday. He's in with a journeyman. Let's have it right.
Yeah.
And you know, the journeyman didn't deserve that. So there's a time and a place for that. I understand it says, you know, it's a commercial game, it's sold tickets and all the other bits, all to get viewers, Marmite, blah, blah, blah. I tell you what, if he showboats to that extent against a fringe world level fighter, there's a danger that he could get beat by someone who shouldn't be beating him.
Yeah.
So I know Sugar Hill stroke Mccaskill says to switch on round 2, and it seems like he did listen to Sugar Hill. So he's got all the talent, I agree, but I'd just like to see him rein that in a little bit.
Yeah, Joe's looking at it exactly the same way as you. Got all the talent in the world, but acting like that, not for me. A lot of people are going to think this way. I'm not sure he'll do it too often, mate. I think he'll look back and feel a bit embarrassed about what he's done there. He's okay for a little bit. I don't mind a little bit because he's clearly got all the talent in the world. But like you say, have a little bit more respect for these journeymen because they're the people that build your careers when you're a fighter like him. You need these journeymen. And if he carries on like that, people aren't going to want to fight him, are they? Yeah, a bit of a tough one. Evening, Matt. How are you, mate? You sounds off, fella.
You get the sound off when you're on them websites earlier. Anyway, enough about that. Anyway, that was short and sweet. So anyway, in the sidebar, that guy's not having it what he said about the second coming of Nazim. He's put second coming of who? Smiley emoji.
What I mean, guy, what I mean that guy is the antics. You know, the throwing shots at angles, the way he was coming out of shots and ducking opponents and stuff. That reminded me of Naz. I'm not saying is at Naz's level yet, but I think he's got the talent to be. I think he's got the talent to be world champion. He's not quite the same fighter as Naz in that when he actually settles down on his shots, is a bit more orthodox than the angles that Naz used to throw shots from the hip and all that. Is a bit more settled. But yeah, the way he was coming away from punches and making the fighter miss, I thought that was real. That was real Naz. If you ask him, I bet he says that Naz is one of his heroes. We've got a sound now.
Sure,
Matt.
what did you? Can we hear you, Matt?
No.
Sure, what did you think of Whittaker?
Impressed with him. I only really sort of was in the Olympic, to be honest. I didn't know who he was prior to that. But he like said about now, as I got James DeGale vibes of him as well. Because he has the sort of arrogant, like DeGale did. What I was sort of in the short time, I think he's probably boxers' prize asset already. Of all the boxers that lose, I don't think he would want to be the one, especially if they've invested in him. And if they can't, as we spoke about the other day, if they can't deliver the big fights in the few years to come, that will be the one that they'll kick themselves if they lose out of all their boxers.
Yeah. Good evening, Boxing Chit Chat. Links above in the chat if you want to join us. Boxing Chit Chat. And that goes for everyone else in the sidebar. So, Boxing Chit Chat says English title within 5 or 6 fights. Yeah, I'd
Easily achievable.
I'd go 5.
Easily achievable. He's even capable. This is a big statement, but he's even capable of winning world titles within 15 or 16 fights, mate. That's how good he is. Again, all depends how quickly they're pushing him. Boxer need to be brave, I think.
Well, it's
Sugar
interesting
Hill,
how they get. It's interesting how they can have him on the AJ Usyk undercard by all accounts because he's a part of 258 management, isn't it?
yeah, they're going to get him out there. They're going to get him out there quick, and Sugar Hill's not going to mess about, mate. He's going to be pushing for the big fight straight away.
I've told you my prediction, though. I've told you my prediction. He'll let Eddie Hearn will let Boxer build his profile, then swoop in and give him a big contract and take him. You heard it here first.
You might be right. It all depends on how long he's tied down for, mate.
So, Joe in the sidebar says he's going to benefit from being in a division where the top guys are at the back end of their career and will be retired by the time he's ready for world honours.
Yeah, I agree. Joe. You're right there, mate.
This is the best appearance by Matt. This is
still no sound, Matt.
It's the most sense you've ever made on this show, Matt. Yeah, you've been on more than twice. 4 times more than that.
Matt's having a nightmare. Okay, swiftly moving on to the headliner. Chris Smith, Isaac Chamberlain. This fight didn't let us down at all, did it? What a cracking fight. Cole, start with you.
Yeah, this is an absolute war, wasn't it? It's just styles make fights, don't they? You know, toe to toe. Absolute. People use wars too much in boxing, don't they? But this was an absolute war. Credit for Chamberlain because by all accounts he'd done his all bone in, I believe it was round 7 or something like that, and carried on.
I had it that.
Well, whichever round it is, it's still going to hurt into every time he gets hit.
Oh, mate. Well, but other fighters have quit with that injury. And he hasn't.
Yeah. Do I think Billy Smith's still world level? No, I don't. It didn't change my opinion in terms of his level of boxing, but it was probably a little bit tougher than I thought he was. But I still don't think he's world level.
It's looking like he's getting that Australian fight, isn't it?
Yeah, there was there on the night, wasn't there? Yeah, I mean, I'll say he's not world level. I think he goes and beats that Australian, if I'm honest with you, because I think he's bang average. But yeah, I didn't learn nothing new about him, let's say that much, apart from his toughness.
Matthew, let's give it another go. Still no sound, mate. You talking? No. Sean, we'll come to you then, mate.
It must be the cost of living with the electric.
It was a much better fight than I actually thought it would, because I thought it sort of gone into the Akoli mode sort of fight, but I was pleasantly surprised. You know, I think with Bill Smith, I think sort of European level is his level. Agree with Shane Wigan about Mccaskill. I actually rate Mccaskill fairly high. But I think certainly the Australian I probably put
something like that, yeah.
But
something like that.
Yeah, I think that's the line to go down really. But yeah, see if he can deliver the world title.
I actually think Shane McGuinn's right about Mccaskill. Mccaskill was very, very dangerous when.
It's a surprise.
Mccaskill was very, very dangerous when Bellew fought him. But how many years ago was that?
He's on the slide.
He's not the same fighter now, mate. Not at all. He's still got the big punch. It's you don't lose that, do you? But he's not the same fighter he was. He's not the dangerous fighter he was. The division's poor, isn't it? Let's have it right.
Yeah. The only challenge for Bill Smith is staying out the way of Mccaskill because he likes to taste the leather, don't he? Like you ain't gonna go looking for Bill Smith.
No. That's his only downfall, Bill Smith, and I still think that he blows. Coming into the last half of the fight, he didn't have a lot left.
He got a second win, to be fair to him, Saturday night, though, for me.
I don't know whether it was that or whether it was that Isaac Chamberlain blew as well. But then you can't really blame him for blowing because of the amount of time he's been out. I don't know, mate. You say he's not world class, but then who is world class in that division? I still think Richard Riakpor's better than all of them.
I don't think he beats a Cola.
Oh, we'll see when, because that fight will happen one day. Probably when they've all got titles. What was interesting was Riakpor was in the studio. Not once did it get mentioned, or I didn't see it anyway. Get mentioned to be fighting Bilham Smith again. Did I miss that? Did they ask him that question?
No, I didn't see it.
Why wouldn't they do that if they were even thinking about it? That tells you that Sky have no interest in that fight, which makes no sense. But maybe they're trying to build it. Are they hoping that Bilham Smith signs with them and then they can build it and have it when they've both got world titles?
Well, I can confirm that Bilham Smith's deal with Boxer was only a one-fight deal.
Yeah.
Go on then, Matt. Oh, the anticipation's killing me. No audio, Matter, no audio. So Ryan O'Rourke in the sidebar said Bilham Smith is 31 and still getting talked about like he's a prospect.
Ryan's got a point.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Joe says the midnight train rolls through them all, even a Cola. That guy says, how do you guys view Makabu's title win? That decision was always a bit shaky to me.
Like I say, mate, I think Makabu's passed it. And I
He's
think
on the slide.
I think that's why Canelo picked him. He's not a massive, he's not a tall cruiserweight, is he? If Canelo was ever going to win a title at cruiserweight, it'd be against Makabu because he's not a tall fighter. It can get into him, and Makabu's not got a lot left. I think all those titles are coming to Britain, all of them, and then we'll end up having what would be good would be a tournament, wouldn't it? Bring all the titles over here and then have a tournament.
One thing I did notice, all the way from fighting them, Darryl Riley's such a small cruiser, isn't he? When he stood in between Riakpor and Johnny Nelson. I mean, you have to think of trouble at that weight. The higher he gets in it,
he ain't nowhere near the top of that division yet, though, is he, Sean?
No, he's got ages to go.
No,
he's got a long way to go, yeah, and they'll build him slowly as well. But he has a very good following, Cole. I know that's one of the things that you tend to pick on with fighters coming through.
He's also got a YouTube background, a bit like Jake Paul. Just saying.
Yeah, but he's a proper boxer, mate, unlike Jake Paul.
Just saying.
But he's got he has got that following. So is he going to sell tickets when he goes forward? Probably. But at least he's fighting proper boxers, eh? Let's not have that conversation, mate. Not tonight. Okay, moving on.
So that's move on to the Channel 5 show from the weekend. So this kind of worked out okay for boxing fans on Saturday, didn't it? Because obviously the boxing card finished nice and early and was able to flick over and still catch the majority of the show.
Actually, now you've brought that up, mate. Just before we do go on to the Channel 5 card, does anybody know why that Sky show finished so early? Was there a reason behind it? Was there a big pullout, or did they just get the timings wrong?
Was a bit of,
not that I'm aware,
wasn't it? Because Bilham Smith wasn't really, was he? Because they had Piggott on after him. So yeah, it was all.
No, he was the main event. It was his homecoming.
Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't like last on the show as you would expect on the.
I don't know.
It was a little bit all over the shop as a production for me on Saturday night. You know, I'm not sure that's the time to be having the main event on. It was all wrapped up, wasn't it? I don't think it was even 10 o'clock, was it?
No, it wasn't.
So
No, very odd, mate. Very odd. I don't know. I don't know whether they just got things a little bit wrong Saturday. They've not done it before, so we'll put it down to a mistake if that's the case. It is difficult to juggle when fights finish early, when all the fights on the bill don't go the distance.
But that's why you have floaters, isn't it? Even at small all shows, you have a couple of fighters standing by in case things go early. So that's no excuse, is it?
No, well, it shouldn't be, should it?
So Ryan says, shows how poor their team is when Bilham Smith is a main event. You don't hold back, Ryan. Don't hold back.
Well, that was obviously right. Ryan, he's not a Sky fighter though, is he? That was a one fight deal. Whether he becomes a Sky fighter next, who knows? But that was just a one off. There was a bit of a dig. I don't know if you heard it from Shane McGuigan in the corner coming into the last few rounds. He turned around to Bilham Smith and said, "You've been waiting for this opportunity to fight down here. All this time we've been shouting for it. Finally, you've got it. Don't let yourself down." That was a little bit of a dig to me. And also, before we move on as well, also, did you hear the little shout out to Eddie Hearn at the end?
Yeah.
I thought that was a bit naughty.
He don't want to stay with Boxer. I don't buy it. I think he took it because he gave him the opportunity to fight in Bournemouth. Eddie Hearn was never going to take a show to Bournemouth from Bilham Smith because he ain't a big enough name to headline. So I think he just...
I don't know. There was a pretty decent crowd there.
No, he's not a big enough name to headline. No. It's just not. So that's why I think he took this fight deal. But he's got no intention of staying for me. Let's try again with Matt.
Matt, you're having a nightmare.
And that'll be a no, Matt. So I think Bilham Smith's going back to DAZN. Unless Sky pay him silly money like they have done other boxers to get him over on the platform. So Ryan said he ain't a Canelo where you're happy to bring someone in for a one-fight deal. Is Bilham Smith going to bring in the crowd? Don't think so. I agree, Ryan.
He don't sell out the O2, does he? He don't sell out the O2. He's not a name like that. But he can do numbers in his own town because he showed it on Saturday night and they come out.
Well, how many were there then?
I don't know, but there was enough.
Just over 3,000.
What was it, Sean?
Just over 3,000 there.
Come on.
It's not a massive arena, though, was it?
But no. That's because you can't fill a massive arena.
No, I get what you're saying, but it was a big enough arena for that show.
Well, let's see whether they're rushing back to Bournemouth then. That'll be the acid test, won't it? I think you can kiss goodbye to any future fights at Bournemouth, to be honest.
We'll see, mate. We'll see. Time will tell.
So Ryan said, laugh out loud, I forgot Bournemouth a hot spot for boxing. So Channel 5, Showlander, take it away.
Okay, we'll start with the Arlen Eubank. And in my opinion, he was looking absolutely outstanding for the first few rounds of that fight. And then fiasco took over. He was very lucky, Arlen, that, well, he could have been very unlucky, in fact, because he wasn't steady on his feet. That shot took a lot out of him. That shot, there was 3 unanswered shots there when he wasn't even looking. He wasn't even looking at the shots. So this guy, this Chavez, by all accounts, is a big puncher, and he's taking 3 clean shots. He was. I'm not going to say he was out cold because he wasn't, but he wasn't far off. And for his corner to allow him to carry on, I think was a mistake. He should have stayed down, and the guy would have got disqualified there and then. I
thought the referee was shit
because that could have ended up really bad. If he hadn't have, he had just enough about him to last that round. What would have happened? How much of an uproar would it have been if he'd have got up and then got levelled?
Yeah, I
because
thought
he
the
made a poor
referee.
decision for getting up. It's brave. Don't get me wrong. It's brave of him. You got
Yeah,
to that. But poor decision, in my opinion. His corner should have been saying to him, "Stay there."
Yeah, I thought obviously the fight was in the wrong as well, but I thought the referee was absolutely shit.
Yeah, it was awful.
To be honest with you,
It was awful. I mean, that Chavez was making out he didn't understand him or he didn't hear him or whatever. But then he goes and does it. It goes and does this very same thing in the very next round. I mean, what's all that about? What
do you think, John?
I tell you another thing that doesn't work in Arlen Eubank's favour in that fight is that Adam Booth had to get back into the changing rooms to get Kelly ready. He wasn't in his corner, not the way he would normally be in his corner.
I don't think you got it in for Adam Booth.
No, I'm not. That's not a pop at Adam Booth at all, mate. It's just it is what it is. When you've got two fighters and you've got to put them on one after another, you have to make a decision as a head coach. And he had to go back and he had to get Kelly ready, didn't he? That's just the way it is. He obviously trusts his second.
So Joe in the sidebar says, "What the F are Channel 5 doing with Calla Montana?" Joe, you do make me laugh. The Sauerlands are shot to bits, need binning off, but Fat Mick sitting. Sorry, but Fat Mick sitting pretty and getting his fighters on Sky. Let me try that again. What the F are Channel 5 doing with Calla Montana? The Sauerlands are shot to bits, need binning off, but Fat Mick sitting pretty, getting his fighters on Sky. So, Andy, I'll let you take that one away. Because obviously, Hennessy was at the ringside one time for the boxing show.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know what to say to that. I don't even know what to say to that, to be honest with you.
Well, obviously, we've got a close affiliation with Channel 5, but with all due respect to Kaj, it's Sauerland who put the show on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all Channel 5 are there to broadcast the fight. So, I mean, we talk about Bournemouth with only 3,000 fans. I wouldn't know what was in, how many were there at the Channel 5 show. Sean, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I thought Eubank was, he's sort of fast becoming better than British boxing. And I'm not sure he gets from fans. I think, with Sauerland, stuck between a rock and a hard place, really, because they can't really go out there like they would use to because they might not have the budget. But what they are producing on Channel 5, I don't know how much can... But I really wasn't that good, especially Josh Kelly, as I'm sure were in the show.
You know what? Kalle Sauerland obviously wasn't on his game because the question was bound to come, wasn't it? They're interviewing Harlem. The question was bound to come, is the Eubank-Ben fight made? Is the Chris Eubank-Ben fight made? And he just didn't know how to answer it. How can you not be prepared for that question? He must have been asked it about 50 times this week. Last week in the build-up. And he's not ready for it off of his own team. The Channel 5 team, they must have said to him, "We're going to ask you about this." They must have. And he just wasn't prepared. Awful.
Yeah, I mean, what's your space with Sauerland and Channel 5? Because I think they've got another 2 or 3 fight cards penciled in, haven't they?
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. They're still not drawing the crowds into the arenas, which is a bit. It's a bit odd, mate, isn't it? It's a bit odd. I mean, we the one we went to, they do really big numbers on telly, but I don't know what this one did. But the other 2 did really big numbers, over 1 million each. But the crowds weren't in the arena. So from a TV perspective, as a fan watching it on TV, the atmosphere is not in the arena, and that adds, doesn't it? That adds to the night. It adds to the boxing. I don't know. Swiftly moving on to Josh Kelly. We'll come to you first, Sean. Do you firstly, do you think moving up to super welter suits him? And secondly,
No, I don't.
are you seeing any progression?
This will be quick.
It's a hard. It's because he's the same as and he's got skills, but he's just gone boring to where he doesn't really have any power. It doesn't look like, and it's just sort of be more or less, I think, because I don't think he's going to be any world titles anytime soon. So it's hard to see how they progress him, really. I mean, $500,000 probably turned on boxing, being honest. I mean, it's not really entertaining for the people on Channel 5, is it? I mean, it can't crying out for.
I'll tell you what, Sean, he needs to keep away from that Troy Williamson, don't he?
Yeah.
That's the fight that's being touted next, though.
Good luck with that one.
That's going to test his. That's going to test his gut and his heart. That, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if Josh Kelly's got any sort of wild ambitions that Kalasalan keeps talking about, he's got to be blasting fighters like that out of there, hasn't he? He looks sluggish for me. And it's just one of them fights. One, he did nothing for the team, for the people watching. So I don't think it's very quick. No progression for me. And Suter welter, I think he's just in the same boat as he was at welterweight. Doesn't look like he's got much power. So once he starts getting up towards even European level, I think he's in a spot above her. And that's where I'd put Troy Williamson, by the way, probably around European level.
But do you think Troy Williamson beats him?
Yeah, convincingly.
Wow. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I think he does in the close. I think it will be.
What Troy Williamson has is a lot of heart, grit, and determination. Showed that in the Cheeseman fight. Shows that in every fight he's in. I just don't know whether Kelly will have too much of a lead going into the second half of the fight, because he'll win the first half of the fight easily, just on the back foot. He's got lots and lots of skill, Kelly. Lots and lots of skill, but when it comes to the second half of the fight is when he struggles a little bit, because you can't keep that style up forever unless you're really, really fit. And
he can't keep people off.
Yeah, and you need to have a bit of pop in your shots, don't you? We're judging him on fighting a world-class fighter in David Avanesian, aren't we? And that's probably a bit unfair. Troy Williamson's not world-class. He's not David Avanesian. But he is a bigger fighter at a bigger weight. So that's going to make a bit of a difference. I think Kelly beats Troy Williamson, if I'm being honest, because I think he has too much skill. It's all down to those last 3 or 4 rounds, because that's when Kelly's going to be struggling, and he'll have to stand a bit more and trade a bit more, because he won't have that slick movement left in his legs. Yeah. Very interesting. Anything else you want to talk about, Carl?
Yeah, so Eddie Hearn did a bit of an Instagram this afternoon that I've just caught up on, and I've made some few notes from it.
Right.
So he's confirmed that Conor Benn is going to be fighting on October the 8th at the O2 as an headliner. But stopped short of saying who against, obviously. But I'm leaning towards it not being Eubank Jr. now. So I'm not sure who it's going to be.
What's the date touted, sorry?
October the 8th. No, it's confirmed. He will be headlining against an opponent on October the 8th at the O2.
So he's got 2 months. He's got 9 weeks.
Yeah. So with the looking between the lines, I don't think it is Eubank Jr. So I did say on Thursday's show, I do hope they put a big name out that isn't Chris Eubank Jr.
Well, if it is, that needs to happen. If it is, that needs to happen now. They need to make that decision now, because they need at least 8 weeks.
Well, he reckons it'll be announced this week. Right. So, fingers crossed on that one. He confirmed that Chantal Cameron is in negotiations with Mccaskill. So that's been lined up as a fight. Wow. No idea when, but that's a quality fight. He then went on to say Warrington is going to be fighting his mandatory, and then he's open for a unification with Wood next year. So that takes Warrington out of the equation for Wood. So at the minute, he says Lee Wood versus Santa Cruz may have to be put back because they're actually disputing the split still. So he said he may now have a takeover fight in September. Now, everyone's getting a bit excited. It's going to Mauricio Lara, aren't they? Now, he ain't no takeover fight for anybody.
No.
So that opens up a lot of fighters.
I've not looked into this. Who's Lee Wood's mandatory?
I've not looked because I've had one eye on obviously who it might be fighting.
Yeah, me as well. I've not even thought about his mandatory, but surely by that point he's coming round to his mandatory fight.
Ryan in the sidebar says, "Great, Conor Ben going to be fighting a bum. Can't wait." You know if they announce a fighter who's we've not heard of, it's going to be very, very disappointing again. So I've actually got an hotel room booked in London for October the 8th, but if it's against nobody, I won't be going. So just go on to Lee Wood, like we've said. It could be anyone, Andy, couldn't it? If the class is a takeover fight. I doubt it's Lara. You don't call Lara a takeover fight, do you?
No, that's crazy. That'd be crazy.
But then again, Lee Wood only wants the big fights now. So, Lee Wood could quite easily jump in with Lara in September. I don't know.
Very disappointing. Very disappointing that this fiasco with Santa Cruz is still grinding on, mate. It's disgraceful from the WBA. Absolutely shocking that they've allowed this to happen. They should be jumping in there and saying, if you guys, why is there not a time limit on negotiations? Why are they not? Yeah, why are they not saying, right, if it's not done by this point, X date, if it's not done by that point, this is what the split is. Simple as that. Other organisations do it. Why can't they do it? Yeah, I tell you why. Because they don't want Santa Cruz losing that title. They've allowed him to have it for 3 years and not 5. They're in no rush to take it off him now. It's disgrace. It's a disgrace, mate.
Yeah, Joe, Leo Santa Cruz has agreed to the fight, but because he's super champion, was saying it's a 75-25 split in favour of Leo Santa Cruz, and Eddie Hearn and Wood aren't happy with that, so that's why they're appealing it.
Yeah.
So moving on, another fight that is working on at the minute is Dave Allen versus Babic. Is a possibility.
Dave Allen said over a year ago he wanted that fight.
I'd quite like that one. I'll be honest. A motivated Dave Allen will knock Babic out. That's how I rate Babic.
So that guy in the sidebar, Cameron versus Mccaskill, fire. Absolutely, mate. What a fantastic fight that is. I've said it all along. I rate Chantal Cameron a lot. Mccaskill's very good as well. She's come into her own at the weight she's undisputed at. Chantal Cameron's another level for me. I think she's as good as anybody else in female boxing in the world. With a very good coach as well. Her and Jamie Moore, they've got such a good understanding. He hardly has to say anything in the corner because he's done all that work in camp. Unlike some trainers where they're giving loads and loads of advice all the time. He don't have to do that. He says 2 or 3 things in that minute, keeps her calm, keeps her settled, keeps her focused. That's all he has to do because it's all been done prior to that. It's all been done in the build-up. He's a very good coach.
So Joe said, in my opinion, you take the fight and beat the champ, then you call the shots. I'm assuming he's talking about Lee Wood there. I'd imagine Leo's been advised to challenge at 75-25, probably on the basis that Leo Santa Cruz hasn't fought in 3 years, I'd imagine.
Well, he hasn't fought at that weight for 3 years.
Rhino Rourke, Alan versus Babbage. I'll go down to Wetherspoons and see better. And that guy's agreeing with you about your views on Mccaskill. So another rumour, Eddie Hearn did confirm that Tyson Fury's approached Del Boy for a fight in December, but it's highly unlikely to take place. Yep, one of them. So I'll move on quickly from that. Now I think this is a good fight.
Hold on a minute. Let's not move on quickly from that at all. He's not.
Well,
it
could be Eddie Hearn playing the game. It could be Eddie Hearn playing the game, couldn't it?
You know what though, Tyson Fury, he changes his mind like the wind.
He's a wind-up merchant, and I'll take everything he said with a pinch of salt. 1 minute he's fighting for free, and he wants it broadcasted on terrestrial TV for nothing. Then he wants $500 million to step in the ring. So I think he's a master at mind games. So another announcement with John Ryder versus Jamie Munguia is currently being negotiated.
Wow.
Now, I think that's a quality fight.
No, I don't. I think that's the biggest one-sided fight Eddie Hearn will make this year.
No, I don't. Because I think Ryder's on the slide as well.
That's my exact point. Ryder's on the slide. Munguia's going to take him part, mate. It's a ridiculous fight to make.
Nah, I quite like that one. Katie Taylor is working on the next fight, which could possibly be September. Confirmed it's not going to be at Croke Park against Serrano. It's also mentioned about Julio Cesar Martinez versus Sonny Edwards is in negotiations. Now, that is a fight.
Yeah.
So he was fairly confident he'll get that over the line. Now, that's a fight, isn't it? Imagine the build-up.
Sonny Edwards ain't backing down from anybody. He's a real talent, Sonny Edwards.
He is.
Real talent.
And he's gold dust because he's very good out the ring, isn't he? He's a wind-up merchant, isn't he?
Well, he's another one. You either love him or you hate him for his antics. But you can't knock his talent in the ring, mate. You can't knock what he's capable of doing. What a fantastic fight that's going to be. Very close as well.
So Joe in the sidebar says Fury's having them right off. He's always had it. I think I agree, Joe.
Yeah, you're right, Joe.
I think he's just staying relevant a little bit and having a wind up. Ebony Bridges' first defence is going to be in September. No opponent announced or anything like that. And then the last one, because we're all big fans of him on here. There's going to be a Kid Galahad announcement this week regarding his next fight.
I'm going to hold my breath, mate.
Didn't say what weight or anything like that. So let's see who our Barry's going to jump in with.
Well, he's going to be moving up into. He's not going to be fighting. He's not going to be fighting at the weight he got knocked out in because he's got nothing left. I mean, he was meant to be on the league card one in Nottingham.
And Maxie Hughes,
apparently. Yeah, I've heard that, Sean. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So a couple of comments on the side. Silvio's joined us. Good evening, Silvio. Don't think that Julio Cesar Martinez will ever make flyweight again. Time will tell. Rhino Raw. Tasha Jonas ruined all chances of Taylor rematch signing with Sky.
Tasha Jonas, Ryan, was never, ever, ever going to get a rematch with Katie Taylor. Never.
That's why she went up through the weights.
No one wants anything to do with her. Once they've been in the ring with her once, they don't want anything to do with her because they realise how good she is.
Who do you think Conor Ben's jumping in with her under?
No, I ain't got a fucking clue, mate. Yeah, I mean, I've said this a million and one times, mate. I've been an advocate of Conor Ben, even when you're on the wind up on the show. You come up with valid points when you say he's not been in with a live opponent. All of his named opponents are past the sell-by date. I think he's got a goal to call out Carl Greaves about Avanesian. You know, there was a bit of a Twitter.
Yeah, they had a bit of a spat, didn't they?
On Twitter, yeah. After Carl had done an interview saying that if the Ben Eubank fight don't happen, Avanesian's waiting there. Let's make the fight. Ben came out, you know, with comments on, "Oh, you're just trying to make a payday off me," and you know, you pulled out of the Ortiz fight. You didn't want to fight Ortiz, and you've been fighting bums. Well, how can you say that when you're not fighting anyone at world level? And I'm a big fan of, I've said it 1,000,001 times. I'm a fan of Conor Benn.
Well, you can punch holes in the defence, can't you, Conor Benn? Because you talk about Evanesian wasn't a ticket seller. Yeah. He wasn't a big name and all that lot. And then they go and bring, I can't even remember the guy's name from America, you know, who blasted out in one round, who wouldn't have sold no tickets, who wasn't a big name. So, you know, come on. Where's your argument?
There's not an argument, mate. They just didn't want the Evanesian fight. It's simple as that.
Ryan's on fight.
They're never going to admit that, are they? They're never going to admit that. It's just one of them. But I'm in complete agreement with you, Carl, and this is a very rare thing. So make sure this is still recording because it won't happen again.
Well, you're going to give us an answer, are you? Jeez, that would.
I am, and I'm going to agree with you as well. I'm not only giving you an answer, I'm agreeing with you.
Jesus.
He has to fight a world level fighter. There's no two ways about it. Whether the Eubank fights fell through, he's still got 8 weeks. He keeps fit all the time, so that's not a problem. It's not like he's got to work off the weight in this 8-week camp. He needs to be fighting world level fighters. So the one that springs to mind for me is Thurman.
Yep.
You know,
but he ain't coming over here, is there? Come on.
Well, he's not got a lot left, mate. Maybe he would for the right money.
So Ryan and Raw. Let me just pick Ryan's comment up. Eddie looking for a security guard from Lidl for him.
They're on about Ben being a pay-per-view fighter. They're on about putting him on pay-per-view. Well, if they're going to do that, he has to be against a world level fighter because people aren't paying pay-per-view for a top 20, a top 30 fighter. They're not doing it. It's not going to happen. He's got to be in with somebody in the top 5 of one of the governing bodies.
That guy says, I like Ramirez versus Ben. Rumors that fight was a fight that... So that fight pricked his ears up. Ryan says, Ben is worse than Charlo protecting that 0.
I don't think it's Ben though, Ryan. I really don't. I don't think it's Ben. I don't think Ben's saying, "Oh, I don't want to fight him. I'm scared to fight him." It's none of that. He's being protected by his management and his promoter, and he's listening to them because they brought him through from day one. Now, at some point or another, as a fighter, a genuine fighter, because I really do believe he is, and I really do believe he'll fight anybody. At some point, he's got to be turning around and saying, where the fuck is my career going? At some point, he's got to turn around and say, I've let you do what you've needed to do, and I've let you build my career so far, but now you've got to get me these fights. Because people are calling Ben now, and they're saying he's not what he is. He's not what he says he is. I still believe he is, but he's just giving too much time to the promoter to do exactly what Ryan's saying. Overprotect him. This 0 thing's a myth, an absolute myth. You learn more from a loss than you do from 10 nobody fights. It'd serve him in the long run, wouldn't it? I don't know.
Well, the thing that worries me is, you know, if you don't jump in with decent opponents, when he is in deep water, when he finally gets to this world title shot after about 45 fights, he's not going to be used to being in deep water.
Yeah. So
he's going to struggle. So he needs them fringe world title fights. You can't keep throwing them in with, like Ryan says, security guards and that lot. So yeah, Ryan said
that's why. Go on. That's why I wanted to see him go in against British level, European level. winning British titles, winning European titles. That's his grinding that he didn't get because they took him down the European path where they could unpick the fighters he was in with to make him look good.
I mean, I think he beats the Florian Marco. He's not even jumped in with a Marco, has he?
Nah, yeah, I know, mate. The thing is, he's past that point now, though, isn't he? Because of his name and the numbers and the push that he's been getting from DAZN and the fact that he's in the top 5 of some of the governing bodies. He can't be fighting a Marku now. He can't be fighting an Echo Essenman now. It's got to be world level. I mean, if the Marku fight was made, Cole, you'd jump all over it. Where's his ambition?
It would be the best opponent he's faced.
Yeah, but he's going back down levels, isn't it?
But he's not though. Yeah, but he's not. That's your perceived level of him. He's not fought nobody at that level, wherever you think he is.
It's not my perceived level of him. It's the world rankings perceived level.
Name a better fight than Marku who he's fought. So he's hardly coming down levels, is he? So Mike says, evening, Mike. Eubank should be banging the door for world titles, and he's not bothered about big challenges because of the money he's made. Yeah, Eubank, he makes.
He's all about money, Mike. That's all he's interested in. He's not about legacy. He's not about winning world titles. He's not interested. He could have had the Triple G fight and never took it because they weren't paying him enough for taking it. He's not interested in winning world titles. This is why he's calling out. Welterweights. You don't hear him calling out world level middleweights, and if he does,
but Ben's as guilty, Andy, you know. Ben's as guilty calling out Hearn and Brook and people out who are down the river instead of calling out the big boys in the division.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, mate. I don't disagree with you.
We've got
so anyway,
Ben, I've heard. Yeah,
I
was going to say with Conor Ben, I'm not sure how accurate, but I've heard they're doing all they can to get for October the 8th because or heard that if it's a big welterweight or Eubank, it's October the 8th on DAZN. That's their official sort of UK launch of it.
Well, it has to be a world level fighter, then, don't it? It can't be. You get away with putting Ben Eubank on pay-per-view because of the names. Regardless of what we think about the fight, regardless of the fact that there's 2 weight divisions between them, it's pay-per-view because just the same as the Khan Brook was pay-per-view because, you know what I mean?
Don't kid yourself. Eddie will make pay-per-view just on Ben's name alone. It won't really matter who he's jumping in with.
He's telling you now. Mate, he won't make the numbers if that's the case. If he's going to do that, and fight somebody that's not world level, it won't do the numbers.
I'll have a point with you. Says his opponent on October the 8th is not world level and he's still pay-per-view.
It might still be pay-per-view. I'm not doubting that, but it won't do the numbers.
Well, I know it won't do the numbers. My point being that it's still going to make it pay-per-view.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it will do. Because he thinks Ben's a pay-per-view star. He's not a pay-per-view star yet.
My prediction is this: whoever this opponent is aligned though, it won't be Furman because Furman won't come over to the UK for one, and on the slight chance he was coming over to the UK, it would bankrupt his own. So I'm going for a European level. I'm going for a European level again, and then we'll just all be scratching our heads going after the fight. We're still not the wiser how good he is. 21 fights now. Yeah.
I'd be happy with the top 10. I'd be happy with the top 10, but I'd rather him fight someone like Thurman. It needs to be. I mean, Thurman's right at the right time as well. He is at the tail end of his career. He's still relevant. He's still in that. I mean, I think he's still ranked number 2 by one of the governing bodies. So his name's still there, but I think he's there for the taking now, Thurman. He's past his best.
It just frustrates me that the clear strategy from Conor Ben, not him really, his management team, is waiting for a belt to be vacated when he's in a mandatory position, and that's how he'll get his world title. You heard it here first. If he's good enough. he will not beat a world champion to pick that belt up.
He won't get a chance to fight one, though, will he? They're all tied up. And they're all with PBC.
So, a couple of comments on the side. Mike says Eubank Jr.'s called out Jake Paul. I've seen that. That
Has
guy
he really?
said...
Has he really?
Yeah, he'll step in this weekend. Whether it's tongue-in-cheek, I don't know. And that's another reason why I don't think he's jumping in on the 8th of October. That guy said, if it ain't Eubank, it ain't pay-per-view, is it? You talk to Eddie Hearn, you know, what he might think pay-per-view is different to us. And then Joe says PBC won't work with Hearn, so he won't be Furman.
Yeah, he's got a point. Well, that's that. See, this is where Conor Benn has to start making a decision about his future, then, don't it? I don't know what a fight deal he's got with Eddie Hearn. Don't know what he's got left. If he's serious about wanting world titles, maybe he's got to go to the States.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we'll give it another 10 minutes, guys. Any comments in the sidebar about topics you want us to pick up, let us know now before we bring the show to a close.
I want to go. I want to go back to this Eubank Jake Paul comment. What the actual fuck?
What he says was, he's happy, like I've said, he's happy to jump in and save the show. It was only a tweet that I read, but you know, do you believe it? Is it just a soundbite?
He might be taking the piss.
That's what I mean.
I mean, there's a big weight difference.
It gets him a lot of exposure, don't it? So it's no such thing as bad PR and all that. Yeah, I agree, Mike. Hearn believes Ben will sell pay-per-view buys no matter what. Joe says, sadly, Ben's not good enough to get in with the top boys and never will be. Correct, Joe? You've obviously been listening to what I'm saying over the last few weeks.
I think Joe's got his own mind, Cole. He's not copying you, fella.
I'm just saying I support his view, Andy. I didn't say he didn't have his own mind. So what I'll say is, one fight that I am looking forward to this weekend, and Conor Benn, I hope you're watching, is McKinson versus Ortiz Jr. So obviously McKinson's had the bottle to go over into Ortiz's backyard and try and rip the belt from him. And all I've got to say is, McKinson, I applaud you.
Yeah, dead right.
So that's how he should carry on. And interestingly, the fight's co-promoted between Golden Boy and Matchroom. So, answer on a postcard why Conor Benn isn't jumping in with these guys. But, you know, yeah.
Well, Golden Boy is the only promoter in the States that will work with Eddie Hearn. And they've done it on a number of occasions now. Zucan Lee Wood is one of them. So they do make these big fights. And Golden Boy have got a deal with DAZN anyway, haven't they?
Yeah.
So it's easy for that link to be made. But yeah, the question is there, isn't it, mate? If Mickinson can get in there and take that fight, why not Ben?
Yeah, because Mickinson's got nowhere near the profile that Conor Benn has, especially in the UK. I'm not sure about US, but you know, I'm sure that fight could have been made. So I just think Ben's almost getting nowhere to run, is he? He's running out of excuses. Is my brutally honest opinion. Now, whether it's like I say, it's probably not him. It's probably his management team. But I feel he's been poorly advised.
Yeah, he is. He's been poorly advised.
Joe says,
he's been overprotected.
Joe said, if Mickinson sees a final bell, that's a win for him. Can't see him winning. Neither can I, Joe, to be honest. But you got to give him props for going out there, haven't you, into his backyard and giving it a go.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah. I'm sure Conor Benn will be very quick to want to jump in the ring with McKinson.
Yeah.
Mike says, first of all, we know that Jake Paul is that could be anything. And won't even jump in the ring with you, man.
I'm going with bitch. He's a bitch.
Yeah, but you wouldn't star that out, would you?
Paul, Mike's probably trying to be nice. thinking he can't swear on the show. Go on, carry on.
And then Joe said 100% gets props from me. 5 minutes left, people. So any comment, any topics that you want us to talk about, probably argue about, let us know in the sidebar. Are you staying up for the McKinson fight, Sean? I know you're a regular through the nighter.
Yeah, I think I will. I'm actually looking forward to the card. I quite enjoy the Golden Boy work. It's just a randomness what you get from him. You never know. Oscar guys, Hoyer might come out. Worth just for that.
Always very well matched, them cards.
Oh,
That's
I
because
wonder
we've
why
got
he's
the number
saying
one
that.
matchmaker in the world.
Who, by the way, is due to be joining us at some point next week for a pre-recorded show, by the way. Mr. Roberto Diaz will be joining us to review the Golden Boy card and to talk about AJ Usyk. So watch out for that on the channel. Right, just like the other topics. So, Andy, I'll let you close it out. I'll let you thank you for me. Thank you to everyone. Ryan jumped in about Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia needs to retire. He made his bag. That was a boring as fight. What do you think about Sean before we finish?
Doesn't have a lot left, does it?
No.
I think he's on his way out, but fair play coming back from what he's come back from. I don't know if he's what he said after the fight, but yeah, fair play to him. I just hope he's happy and healthy now.
Yeah. Hopefully he's made his money. He's still got plenty of it in the bank, and he can go and live a good life now, can't he?
Yeah.
Because it looked like it'd been still well won too many times for me. I don't know what you thought, Andy.
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. I got to agree.
Right, so that's the end of the Monday Madness show. So it has been a bit mad. So this is just a one-off that we've done because it worked. So we're about to have a regular slot on Thursday night at 7 p.m. Just before I let Andy take us out, thank you to everyone who's contributing the side. Cheers, Sean, for joining. Matt, must try harder. Over to you, Andy.
Guys, once again, fantastic comments in the sidebar. We have some real knowledgeable boxing fans come on. That's what this show's all about. I'd like to see a few more of you on screen, to be quite honest. Don't be afraid. Coal don't bite, honestly. We'll see you again next Thursday, regular time slot, 7 p.m. See you later, guys.